When that call comes, your world stops. 3 mothers, 3 stories, all forever changed.
I was on the tube and I got a call from my son. Mum, you need to go home now. Didn't ask no question, just something in his voice said, I need to go home. So my co-worker was with me and I said to her, can you please take the class for me? Something's wrong, I need to go home. So while I was on the train, because I had to change trains to reverse to go back, I got a call from my daughter, Charlene.
So the moment I got the call, I was frozen because I wasn't sure if I was hearing correct. And I really didn't know if it was true, what was the news that I got.
Yeah, so that day, crazy one. James was working, went to pick him up. Then we had to go and pick up a bike because we was planning on going glamping. So one of his good friends had a bike and said, you know what, have the bike, it's absolutely fine, because he's not using it, so we can come and pick it up. So we had James's car at the time, so we had to dismantle the bike, get it in the car, then we dropped it home, and then we went out to go and do shopping. So we've gone back out, went and done shopping, arrived back on the estate about 6 o'clock, just after 6. And James said, Mum, let me just fix back up this bike and test ride it before you get on it, because I don't want you to fall over, blah, blah, blah. I said, okay, son, no problem. But he said, wait for me here when I go out to ride it. So I said, okay. So he was in the garden, fixing back on the wheel that he had to take off before trying to get it in the car. Fixed it all together. And then he was like, right, Mum, wait on the doorstep for me because I'm just going to go round the block. Looking to my right and I'm thinking, he should be round by now. But that was 1 minute. Next thing I know, my phone is ringing. It's a FaceTime from James. I'm thinking, oh God, the chain's come off or he's fallen off this bike. No, this is where my life went downhill. Mum, I've been stabbed.
My first thought and emotions was, no, he couldn't have done this.
And then she said, Mum, something wrong with Antoine, he got stabbed. And I just screamed the whole train down.
And I'm just shouting like, where are you? Where are you? I remember some people were standing there and they were trying to direct me to where they thought something had obviously happened, until when I called James's phone and another young girl picked up the phone and said, we're here with him. I said, where exactly are you? So they directed me, they came and met me, went round there, saw my boy just on the floor, screaming, Mum, Mum, pool of blood. Blood was literally just running.
For me, like, being on the other end of this was that I felt it for the family that lost their son. And I was like, the questions that was more, what happened? That's all I wanted to know. What happened? Why did it happen?
When we got to the hospital, and I went to A&E thinking he's in A&E. So when you go into the hospital, you've got A&E that way, family room that way, and the police was there directing me to family room. And I'm thinking, why are you directing me to family room? When I got into the hospital, family room, before I got into the family room, there was a few people, a couple of my friends were there, and I'm going, why are you here? Like, why are you here? And then I saw my daughter on the floor screaming. Antoine's fiance ran across with the baby, screaming. And I thought, what's going on? And then she said, he's gone, Mum, he's gone. I'm going, what do you mean he's gone? And I remember her banging on the door where the part you couldn't go in. And she said, Anton, stop playing the joke, come out, come out. And it was just madness.
I just wanted to meet the mother. I wanted to meet the mum and say sorry and just try to come up with a resolution for this.
I think like 5 different wounds through the stomach, through his diaphragm, liver, heart, the whole works, lungs. There was just a lot of blood loss.
4 months prior to that, my father passed away. He had multiple cancers, and I knew my son wasn't going to take that easy because my father was a father figure for him.
Because you couldn't, even though you're there living it, it's like it wasn't real.
Things are not really sinking in, and I just remember being in this family room, and it's like, you know, you're standing there, you're thinking, what the hell is going on?
And all the doctor said to me, he's the property of the coroner, and then left.
And he called me and he was like, Mum, I'm just telling you that, I'm letting you know that I'm safe. And then I tried to be calm in the situation because I was ready to be like, what did you do? Is it true? All of that. But then I just was like, okay, just be calm. And then he was like, I'm at the police station. They've arrested me for murder.
My daughter, Charlene, was 8 months pregnant at the time as well. So she collapsed. Then I collapsed. So I ended up on the ward with my daughter in A&E.
Because all this is new to me. I must admit, I'm just probably oblivious to what's going on out there. So until it's all these things starting to happen now, it's like I'm starting to realise the importance of this, that, you know, I've got his phone and I'm touching the phone, my clothes, partner's clothes, where he's been in the blood. And so, yeah, it was a lot just moving very quickly. And it was just knowing he had been rushed straight to theatre.
I remember going into Antoine's flat and staying there, and I refused to come out. And I didn't want to talk to nobody. I didn't want nobody to tell me they're sorry. I didn't want to hear anything from anybody, right? And I remember a friend of mine coming there to stay, and she made, God forgive me because I believe in God, but she said, one thing she said about it's God's will and time will heal. I wanted to knock her out cold. That's the wrong thing to say to a mother at that point.
That was my next thing. How am I now going to carry on life without my son? Knowing that he was literally dead with that ambulance crew for almost 1 hour. It's like, yeah, this is not what I even want to be hearing. I was thinking, my gosh, how is he even going to manage? How is he going to come through all of this?
I went to the shop. I was fine. And I got to the shop and I couldn't come back from the shop. My legs, my body refused to move.
And all I kept saying, I remember I just kept saying, I don't care what state he's in, just give him back to me.
I couldn't walk. I couldn't move. People helped me into the flat. I was in the flat for over a week because my legs would not work. Yeah, what they call neurological functional disorder brought on by trauma.
Because I remember the first few weeks, especially when it started hitting the telly, it was, my family had to turn around and say, right, just give me your phone. You ain't doing this. You can't sit down and keep explaining yourself over and over again.
And I said, did you do it? And then he was like, I don't know. So that's when I was like, okay, he had an episode.
The messages slow down. The world moves on. But for a mother, the silence is loudest when no one's listening.
The trial, they painted Antoine like he was a monster.
I feel like the justice system just had this blank wall in front of me where I couldn't get access to anything to do with him because he's older. He's over 18.
Justice, yes. Justice, yes. But I do question mark it because I know it weren't just 2, although they have 2 inside serving their sentence. I know there was more of them. And I think that's That's the side that I would question mark when we say justice. But yes, to know that we went through the whole court case and we saw the light at the end of the tunnel, that's obviously helped.
If anything was to be told, it would have to be my son that calls me and give me information.
The jury, when they came in for the first guy and said guilty, the judge looked at me, looked at the jury and said, "Are you sure?" He sent the jury out of the courtroom to come up with a full verdict. And it's like, what? And for me personally, if they came back not guilty, I'll be locked up.
Prior to this, there was no acknowledgement in regards to his mental health. There was more, like he was just an object on a food elevator. Next.
A mum came up to me when they did a service and said, the day your son got murdered, he was doing a no school uniform day to raise money to bury my son, which was the previous guy that got murdered the month before.
He was sentenced to indefinite in a psychiatric hospital.
Day of the funeral, it was amazing. You had all the dignitaries, you had the mayor, the chief of police, police commissioner, the MPs, the councillors, all there. Not the head teachers. Not only were they all there, they stood up and talked about the work Antoine did. So I felt proud. It was like a heavenly wedding. It was beautiful.
There's those who wish for him to be in prison for his actions, and there's those who knew that he was actually going through something and he needed the help.
I can't fault the care that James has got. And I said, even up to now, there is still surgeons that want to help and make his life as better as possible. You know, they still want to do more surgery on his arm, still want to do more surgery on his leg. And these are all things that will help him to be able to stand, to be able to maybe get to walking frames. All these things that will help make his future a lot better. So, you know, these surgeons don't have to choose James to put in the theatre to work on. They don't have to, but they have chosen to give him that extra bit of support and make his life a bit better and comfortable for him. So we're forever grateful. You know, we turn up to every appointment because as far as I'm concerned, every appointment is just as important as the first one.
Like, they didn't even ask about him. They weren't, how is he? Is everything okay? It was more threats and look at you now, or look at, you know, these kind of things. Like, they're still even in my phone. I have not even deleted them.
As for work, there's been no work because I've literally been with him 24/7. He needs 24-hour care. So there's no way I can step aside and say, well, I ain't going to be there on the journey with him. So in terms of my life, I just call it non-existent.
Antoine has had no justice, right? Yes, he's got his thing, but how could you say he had justice when the way that you treated him as an individual that's been murdered from day one, as he was the criminal?
The world may be silent now, but a mother's love still speaks, even from the shadows.
Once James came out of rehab and we got home, the calls started a little bit more because everyone's heard, you know, made progress, stepped down, out of rehab now back at home. But that would have been, what, a year and a half? And then it's just like now, geez, we can count on my hands, yeah, when I say, and that's between both me and James, how much communication we have with people in the outside world.
The grieving period, it hadn't come in yet because you've got to deal with that, then you've got to deal with the court case of the first person, then you've got to retrial to appeal, then you've got to go through another appeal, and then you've got to go to the second person and another appeal and another court case and another court case. So we had court cases in Birmingham, Nottingham, Leicester, London and Staffordshire. So what Crown Court, where by them sending us to Staffordshire Crown Court, Nobody from Leicester could have come quite so far away.
But for the fact that the family has forgiven my son and asked for him to get help, I'm really, the emotion that I'm feeling right now in regards to him being at the hospital has confirmed the fight that I had to get him to be recognised that there's an illness that he has.
As far as I'm concerned, we've been going through this journey now for over 4 years. Stop that silliness about how you don't know how to approach me. This is our new normal. This has been our life now for 4 years.
You learn to adjust and you live, yeah? And what people make a mistake thinking, oh, you've got other children, stuff like that, that doesn't matter.
It's a tough one for me because I can see friends James's age, I can see family James's age, and I think what hurts me is you're watching them drive, you're watching them work, you know, girlfriends, you know, they're striving, they're moving on.
So him being in a psychiatric hospital is where he needs to be. He needs help. He needs to be able to have medication on a regular, and just get the therapy that he needed outside of all of this from the beginning.
Every morning I'm getting up and he's determined, he's motivated, he's giving it that drive. Who am I to say, well, boy, I ain't giving 100% like James is?
So what I want people to understand, that mental health is a complex journey, and it's not one hat fits all.
Only reason that I'm alive today is because of Antoine's goodwill, and I've got a legacy to hold on to.
Life and memories are not finished yet. We've still got so much more to make. That is what keeps me going.
The amount of times when I thought, I'm not going to take my medication, I don't care. The amount of times when I think, I don't care if I get run over a bus or go into a train. I don't really care. It doesn't mean you don't care about your other children. It means that it's too much pain to live with.
Even with his diagnosis of the cancer, that was just another blow. I had long hair. He lost his hair during the cancer. I cut my hair off. I said, we're on this journey together.
I go and do therapy with him. I've learned about therapy and trauma therapy, and every week I visit him and we talk about his trauma, how he handles change, because he doesn't handle change very well. He doesn't handle news on loved ones who've passed away.
I don't know how many people I can actually sit down and say, well, boy, everyone that was there at the beginning are still here now.
What people don't understand as well is the loneliness, the promises that people make at the time. Antoine had 1,000 people at his funeral, including all the dignitary. I got a call to say Jesse Jackson was coming over. He's heard so much of my son. He actually came over December the 4th, the following year, with his whole entourage, planted a tree and a plaque in Antoine's memory.
As small as dinner. If it's as small as, let me just come and sit and do some washing for you. You know, go, take 5-10 minutes. Just go, step out, get some fresh air. That would be my thing.
There might not be physical tears, but there's spiritual tears, because your heart is just torn. You've gone through the funeral, you've gone through everything else, you've gone through the trial, but it's like it's today, it's still so surreal. And we haven't really grieved properly. I've only really started to grieve now. People always make promises at a time, you know, that whenever you need me, you know, we look out for Antoine's son and stuff like that. But where are they?
So people who you thought would have had your back and would be here on the whole journey with you, unfortunately, they've gone.
One woman said to me, Cheryl, I'm so sorry I've not spoken to you. I just don't know what to say. They can't empathise with you. They can't feel that pain. You know, they might think, yeah, she's always going on about it, but and get fed up because to them it's like, it's over. I've had somebody say to me, don't hold on to it. Set some balloons up and let it go. You can't let that go.
I do have my harder days, but number one, we're blessed to have James with us. So for me, every morning that I can get up, take my first breath, Go in, check on him. He's taken his first breath. That's my number one.
Find a room, go out in the park, or find somewhere where you can just scream.
And sometimes it's hard because you want to ask for help, but it's the knockback.
I'm growing through what I'm going through right now. You are not alone. You're not the first and you will not be the last. But try to advocate for your child, regardless of the situation.
Families going through what I'm going through, it will get better. At the beginning, I thought there was no light at the end of the tunnel. And I have to say, it will get better.
There's no silence. How can there be silence when you've still got that inside you? That pain that's crying, there's no silence.